Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Just Chats. I'm your host, Uncle Dominic. In today's episode, we're talking about sometimes we just need a little help. Now, what does it mean? This means very simple. Every day, our life is full of challenges, and some challenges can be overwhelming. Sometimes we just need a little push, a little help, a little hand, or a little listening ear, right? A guiding light, something to get us going. But that is very difficult to find sometimes. And so today we have our guest, Aundrea Sides. Let's welcome her. Welcome, Aundrea Sides, to the show.
Hey, hi Dominic. How are you? Nice to
I'm
meet
great.
you.
How are you over there?
I'm wonderful. I'm in the beautiful Mauritius. It's hot and it's humid here. It is, but you know what? It's beautiful. I can't complain. You got to live on a tropical island at least once in your life.
That is great. I I used to live in Hawaii. I don't know that if that is considered tropical island, but yeah,
Sure.
it's still pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So today we're gonna talk a little bit about sometimes we just need a little help. But before we get
Mhm.
to that, could you introduce yourself to everyone else about what you do and a little bit about your background, if you could?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hi. Hello. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm Andrea, and I am an intuitive mentor or like an intuitive life architect. And what that means is I really work from the inside out. I've been training to pay attention to my insides for a very, very long time, and it makes life a little bit easier. And I also help people be able to find that inner light, that inner voice so that they can create a lifestyle that is just as rich from the inside out. So your inside should really be as magnificent as anything that you see on the outside. And when we can really go in tune with that and you use your intuition guided by your this universal knowledge that we all can connect to, this universal wisdom and creativity, like when we're children and kind of keep that mystery and that childlike enthusiasm, you really remember who you are without any kind of doubt, and you're excited about life and your evolution, and you celebrate yourself and your life more. And it's to be service to others is natural, because when we go into that place we find a lot of compassion and
Mhm.
empathy and openness, and there's not a whole lot of stuff to hide because we're emotionally available and open. We're not afraid of our own emotions. So that's
It
what I
sounds
do.
like it sounds like something like we're saying bringing out the inner child. Would that be something similar?
Mm. It is. So as we go into something which I call self-love, we hear a lot about that. But actually,
Mm.
when you develop that and you practice that, that naturally happens. You come up against your different shadows and things that you've had and childhood traumas, and you are able to look at it from a different perspective. So you can heal those things. And as you heal those things, your whole life changes. So you heal your past, your whole timeline of your life, it really changes. And even the way that you tell your stories about the way your life used to be or how you grew up as a child changes. It changes the way you look at it, because you don't want to keep on regurgitating traumas and things like that. And if you've truly healed something in the past, it shows up in the present and also supports your future.
I see. So does it have anything to do with you personally? Like, does this healing
Mm.
concept helped you somewhere before in your past, and then now you are
Oh,
what you are?
yeah, of course, of course. So in every single person that I come in contact with and I speak to, I'm always evolving. I'm always a growing. We are a never ending. We are
Okay.
never ending creativity, but instead of paying so much attention to also just your past and, like healing and all that other stuff, it's really important to be able to get still and quiet with yourself and be in that 0 point energy or that neutrality, so that you can really listen and sometimes silence, so that you can embody who you are and also enjoy your own company, so you can enjoy the world and see the good things in the world. And so, of course, with everything. So that's just a really general question. If I had to add to that, so it's really important also to be able to elevate and your emotions. and learning how to elevate your emotions and pay attention to your inner world. And again, your emotions, like we learn all this stuff and we regurgitate and vomit everything that's already existed, right? And through education and everything else.
Mhm.
So, where do we get this? Where do we start developing actually who we are? You know what I mean? And listening to that universal wisdom, which everything comes from, anyways, and that we can actually add our life energy and our life force to the world, to the earth, to our lives, so that we're not just asking and asking for material things and all these other things all the time to fulfill us, that we're actually adding. And so we're creating sustainability in our own lives and the world. That's why we have all these problems with sustainability and with the earth, and why this is such a big issue. It's because we're still looking for all the outside in answers. But when you start emanating your own frequency, you start getting to know who you are, you actually add to life. It's pretty beautiful. So of course, with your children and childhood, I have two smaller children, and I'm no different than they are when we play. I can get right in there and do things with them. It's really, really important. So one of the things that I do on Vitality Unleashed Live, it's a website that we have, and I created modules for people to help clear different things in their inner child. Sorry, I have a plane going over.
Oh, okay. So she just mentioned that she has a website, and it's written there right there, Vitality Unleashed. So if you can go to the
Mhm.
website, you can look at what she has.
Yeah.
And she does mention a few good things, and I want to emphasize on some
Mhm.
things that she said something, or you said something about. I'm using third person now, but you said something about putting something of us into the universe, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes some people do not want to add to it. They feel like life is already difficult for them. Like life is, I'll just make it easier. Just life is difficult for me, and
Mhm.
I'm having a hard time trying to think about adding things to the universe. And people start thinking, why should I even add things to the universe when universe right now is crazy? And so why should I
Mhm.
even add to it? Oh, why is even my value worth it? Right? So things like that. So
Yeah.
if you could answer that, that
Sure.
would be great.
Sure. The reason that is because you're looking at what already exists.
Oh.
So when you look at what already exists out in the world and you bring that interiorly, you're actually causing a lot more problems, and and you're actually leaking your life force energy to what already exists. If you don't develop your inner world and your emotions, your emotional mastery, and you don't develop your own spiritual nature or whatever that it is, that you're going to be pulled in so many different directions that you won't even know who you are. You won't know where to go. You're people pleasing all the time. Your relationships are dumping. You have no idea. You just react to everything. You act like a big child later on. Like, you know what I mean? You act like a big child. So it's very, very important. And you don't have to you don't have to think about it as on terms of like, oh, I'm adding to the universe. You can just be yourself and enjoy your own life, and you don't have to think about it that way. But the only way to true happiness in all my 25 years of working with people, and in psychology, in one-on-one sessions, I've spent time all over the world in isolation, from the Amazon jungles, to islands, to all sorts of. So I've had some time to develop this,
Mhm.
and also really help change people's lives, and not to be fearful. You think it's much more fearful to look out and to see what's like on the movies and what's going on in the world. And when you're giving your attention unconsciously to these things that are in the world, you are feeding them. So wherever your attention goes, energy goes. So your life force, so you wonder why you're exhausted at 3 or 4 during the day, after working and giving things to people, and you're watching the news and you're doing all this, and you're just randomly reacting to everything that you're already seeing.
Mm.
What happens if I told you if there was a way to develop your inner world one thing at a time? And the very first thing that I really challenge people to do is to find love. Like, we love our families. I don't know if you have any children or not, Dominic, but we love our
I see.
children just for. Oh yeah, see, so we love our children just for breathing. So how about using and developing that love inside yourself to where you really truly get to understand and love yourself in the same way? Through doing, whatever it is that you love to do. You don't even have to do meditation. You don't even have to do breath. I suggest breath work and to breathe and to be present. And here's the thing, all the worlds that are combined, like everything we want to do and all the things that we want to learn and everything are accessed within, but they also lead us to things in the world that are a match to who we are so they can enhance our life experience. So people can, if they don't want to develop their own if they don't want to develop their own inner self, then what they're doing is, they're letting everybody do it for them.
Letting people control your life. Yes. I have a friend.
Absolutely.
He has
Yeah.
some similar situation in a lot of things. Like for us, he's a
Hmm.
father as well. He has kids as well.
Yeah.
I mentioned I have three kids. I have some
Yeah.
younger. Well, they're all younger than me, so younger kids. But I have teenagers. They're pretty much almost teenagers right now. And so I have a friend. My friend is he has this thing in that's going on in his life, and I talked to him about it before this show, and I asked him if I could use his story. He said it's fine, just don't mention his name. So I'm not going to mention his name, but his situation is his yeah, well, yeah, his life in social media is almost perfect if you look at it. If you look at his Facebook or his Instagram, his family is great, family pictures, great everything, but in
Yeah.
reality, he told me he's not happy with his life, mainly because I asked him, well, same thing like you said, do you love your kids and stuff like that. So I asked him, he said, does he love his kids? He said he loves his kids. But the problem is when he comes home from work, he felt
Hmm.
like no one cares about him. There's not even a hi, not even a welcome
Hmm.
from his kids, all the things
Hmm.
that when he does for the kids, it's like there's no one said thank you or anything to him. And he felt
Yeah.
like it was very difficult for him to get by. So every time he sees me occasionally, and then he would tell me about this. And what can I do? All I can do is, well, sometimes life is hard. We just have to, picked up
Hmm.
and keep on moving, right? So in
Hmm.
short, it doesn't really help sometimes, but at least there is a little support from me. So what would you say for a situation like this? I mean, he wants to control his life, right? He wants to have all this, but sometimes just tiny little things that is happening around him that's making him doubt his self-worth, his love for himself, or even his life in general.
Yeah. So there's
Is that tough
5.
question?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually, so I've got some really good tidbits because we always hear about people. There's nothing more frustrating to me that I go on social media or these things and people put all these quotes out, but they don't tell you and help you how, like, to go inside. What are
Mm,
some of the things? Like, okay, meditate, but what are, okay, so how do, there's different things that you can do. So, and I can tell you there's five, Dominic, there's five major belief systems
okay.
that need to really it's five major beliefs, emotions, it's behaviors that a person can transmute, and that's what we do, on Vitality Unleashed. And this is and the reason you want to transmute these things is because so that you can reconnect with your inner authority in knowing. All right. So some people don't even know how to do it. They don't even, who am I? Okay, so I have a whole series on there of who am I. So the five things that we have to transmute in those onion layers, like they call, or whatever, just to be
Mhm.
able to turn the light on. And I give meditations on how to turn that light on that people can use every single day. So the things to transmute are the inner critic with self judgment. I see that a lot. Disloyalty to yourself or your self identity. Okay.
Mm,
Savage, and that has to do with not being able to control negative emotions or temper.
mhm,
Another one is self righteousness, thinking we're bigger and better from all the studying or whatever expert we are instead of collaborating with people that are experts in each area and working together. And the biggest one is victim consciousness. Nobody loves me. Nobody is here. Nobody does this. To elevate, so to live in our emotions without elevating our emotions, we become stuck. We hide, we lash out, or we might become defensive or feel unloved. And sometimes we might even try to mask feelings and lie to ourselves about who and what we are genuinely experiencing inside and our emotion. And so we regress ourselves, or we stay stuck in those kind of like childlike behaviors.
Mm,
Or we get stuck in our story repeating itself, and we're not emotionally evolving so that we can have a good life. Because what you feel and what you think, you create. Like, we are the creators of our reality and the emotions. And so this is really important. We don't want to get stuck in other people's story, and we don't want to get stuck in our own story. So when you develop a really a creative and wonderful world, you become stronger. One person that's connected to themselves is more powerful than a gazillion that are not, right? So when we elevate our emotions and we become conscious of our thoughts by pausing and asking for the most, this could be something very simple. What is the most significant benefit, realization, or outcome for ourselves and everyone involved in this situation? Or maybe it's just yourself, right?
mm,
Okay. And then we learn how to elevate our emotions this way, to master our emotions and our relationships, just by asking that one question, by asking, what is the highest good, what is the best outcome for in the midst of right before you're going to have this emotion, right?
mm,
And what happens is we listen, not just with our minds, but we listen intuitively, we listen to our hearts, which becomes the commanding center of our lives. All right. And then once this becomes, when we start listening to our emotions, and because otherwise we're gonna throw fits, we can go do things, we can kick, like little kids, or those behaviors like a child start coming out. And then when this heart becomes a commanding center of our lives, it directs the mind. We can direct our mind now to take inspired action. It works with the heart. All right. Now things are working more in harmony. And the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets. All right. Now, one of the things that and self love is huge. So, one of the things that I always ask my clients to do is, if they don't know how to do self love truly, you hear about all these things on social media. Oh, love yourself, love yourself. And I can tell you, maybe 1% of those people out there is really loving and knows what unconditional love. They know in the family, but do they offer it to their neighbor? Do they offer it on this interview? Like, I can say, Dominic, that I can unconditionally love. I don't have any other, and it doesn't matter. I like being a beacon of unconditional love and being able to develop this. So what I ask people, if they don't know how to do it, so before you make a decision, or you're going to do something with your kids, or you do something with your wife or your husband, or in friendships, what is something a person that would love themselves or has unconditional love, how would they make this decision?
mm,
Could be with what you're eating. It could be the way that you're waking. You can ask your, and the shadow work, the things that you will discover about yourself in that process, if you do that for 6 weeks, a year is optimal. Then what happens is you elevate yourself so much. And what happens with my clients is they don't have to ask anymore, because they start elevating. They know, they start to get to know themselves. They see where they hide, they see where they lie to themselves. Do you understand? They
mm,
see where the media lies to them. They see where the world lies to them. So they're not looking for the outside world to fulfill them. They're developing this love inside of themselves so that they can now bring it to the world. This is what the world needs now. We need to fall in love with ourselves. We need to and integrate it with our family, and then bring it out to the world. And it doesn't have to be love. It can be something else. It could be something else that you might have something that you're passionate about, Dominic, or whatever. But love is it's a very it's a frequency that can change people's lives, that will change the way that they see things in the world, the perspectives that they have, right? And the especially money. So when you start developing your inner world and emotionally, just like we do with education, or we learn about this or whatever, it's amazing where prosperity and all this other stuff starts to go like nuts, right? We develop more confidence as we transmute those 5 things that I was telling you about: the inner critic, especially the victim consciousness. We have a stable and fearless commitment to create from authenticity. This is what we hear about people being their authentic self or whatever. No, you have stable and a stable authenticity. And what that means is you just don't have a whole bunch of false beliefs that you don't know what to believe and what not to believe, because you are developing this with inside yourself. You embody like a synergy of wholeness is what happens, and your general wellness increases in all areas of your life, like we were just talking, and you start feeling vital. You start having the energy to do things. You're not drained by 3 o'clock in the morning. You want to get out of bed and do stuff, right? So positive momentum starts to pick up in your life, so you can move around obstacles more effortlessly with fluidity. You increase your understanding of unconditional love for yourself positively, and it reflects on yourself and all your relationships. And you're grateful for these things instead of having all these things on the outside control your life. You are grateful for life's contrasts and negative experiences because you understand they're just supposed to be a bouncing off point for your creativity, for your expansion, for your unlimited possibilities, solutions, and enhancing your life experience. Because if we didn't have any contrast, we wouldn't, it just would be like rainbow and sunshines coming out of your butt. That doesn't happen. But
I
you
wish it
don't
does
stay
sometimes.
in the must. Yeah, you don't
Right.
stay in the muck for long,
Mhm.
because you understand what it is, that it's there to help you evolve. It's there to help you live. It's there to help your creativity and to inspire your life so that you can do wonderful things. And I'm not just saying this just to mouth off. I have a wonderful life. I wanted to live on a tropical island. I did that. I go out and I go paddleboarding, and I teach my kids these things every day. My marketing manager and the people that I have around me, I help change their lives. They help change my life. So there's this synergy that starts happening, and your world starts changing around you. And you don't care about so much what's going on, because you are the change that is
Mm.
happening in the world. You start emitting your own frequency of love or whatever that it is. And I think Gandhi or somebody, they used to say something like they would go in the middle of a war, go on the top of this mountain or whatever, and just with their presence, everything would cease, or things would start going. It would calm. It would
Mm.
calm. So when you start doing, you just have these people that that you can trust or that you can love, and that feel warm and that feel, and it's that development of that emotional and inner development.
So
So
you,
I know that was a lot, but
it is a well, it is. It's amazing. It's there's a lot of things to take in. So
yeah.
my friend out there, who's this is you. This is your answer to your life. But
Mwah!
and the same thing as well. I'm thinking. All this
Mhm.
is great. I mean, it's just like I hear this, like you mentioned, victimize yourself, victim conscious. I think this is true in a lot of so many ways. A lot of people I know in my life have this sort of feeling of being a victim in their life.
Yes,
And
it's abundant. It's lower. It's the reflection of looking outside of ourselves. It's the reflection of what we watch every day. It's the reflection of our work and being regurgitating things that are not life giving to ourselves. We really have to learn how to produce this. My business and also my life is Vitality Unleashed live. So it's not just words. It is bringing vitality and um your chi, your movement, your life force, to generate it and keep generating it, so that you can feel oomph, you can feel alive, you can feel you can live your life. And you know when to rest too. It's not always, when to rest, but you don't have to rest from such exhaustion. You know when it's time to rest, when you need, and you rest, and you can be happy about it. Or when you have lower emotions, you can work through them. You have to get a process for people to be able, and we do this too, a process that works for people to go through the emotions and be able to elevate and neutralize them, and to get rid of the so once you become, most transmutation happens, this is when we become conscious of the victim, when we start becoming conscious of how we're a victim to everything, it opens up a huge world of like, wow, I'm going to get my power from there. This is where I'm telling the story. This is where I'm putting my attention. This is where I'm gossiping. This is where I'm participating in my family with the lower vibration and the lower things, with problems and things. You start listening to what you say, and you say, stop, wait a minute. I have the power. What would it take for me to feel empowered right now? What would it take for me to feel confident? What would a person talk about right now that loved themselves?
Hmm.
What would a person do that was abundant? What would they do right now? I'm not feeling abundant. I'm complaining about money. There's not enough money or people spending too much money or whatever. Is there other stories besides that? Yes. Okay. What would it take for me to see a different point of view about abundance? What would it be about? What would it take to, go on YouTube and watch a video about abundance and do a quick meditation and try to get myself into a different feeling place? How can I elevate my emotions about abundance and money? Or, what is the best case scenario for me and this situation and my money? We'll just say, because a lot of people, they talk about money and stuff. So what is the base and what does that look like? You have to start creating these things, else you're just doing what everybody else is doing. We're here to be our own individual selves and add to the collective with our own individuality. It's just people just need to calm down, and most of the time when people don't allow, or there's this whole process that happens too when you're starting to come out authentic, where you have a lot of changes in your life with your family and everything else, and you try to explain it the best you can. But what happens is, with a lot of people, they start coming out and they start telling their truth, and nobody people don't want that. They want you to go back down so you can be controlled, or that you can be, manipulated, or that they were enjoying your energy and doing these type of things, right? So this is when you really have to start mastering your craft around unconditional love, and have these different things to help you emotionally, so that you're not second guessing yourself. You know what I mean? It takes a little
Mhm.
while, but it's absolutely possible. One moment at a time, one day, one morning at a time, whatever that it is, or really finding out what it is that brings you joy, brings
I,
you.
wa-
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it as well, like the past couple of days and the past actually couple of weeks already. Like we should schools around the world should have classes like this to motivate
Mwah!
students, to tell students about
Yes.
what they can achieve when they're younger. Oh, there's a lot of things happening. I'm just giving examples out there. So this is one of my students. Um, every day in his class life, school life, right?
Mm,
He will tend to during the break time he will go to sleep. He will take a nap. Um,
mm,
Most teachers would think that he's tired, right? Uh, it's true, he's tired. What was he tired about? He's tired of life in general. He says, if I go out and hang out with my friends, he actually said so-called friends. I'm like,
mhm.
wow, so you actually know that there are fake friends out there? He said, yeah. So if I hang out
Yes.
with my fake friends or so-called friends, it doesn't bring me joy. If I and it just kind of brings me miserably. And I was like, okay, then what do you want to do? I would just want to sleep. So if I sleep, I take a nap during my break time. I don't have to meet all these people, and I can have my own happiness whilst taking a nap. For me, I feel like he's finding an excuse or a place to escape from reality. I mean, it's good sometimes, but I felt like he should
Mhm,
embrace it sometimes. Like if there are fake friends out there, I mean, it's still good to have friends, no matter what, whether they're fake or real. It's better to have real friends, obviously, but you take what you get. I told him, I was like, you can experience all those things, and at the same time, you might find the real friend eventually. You don't know.
mm.
You just have to go out and just mingle. Eventually, you found a friend that will be really close to you. But
I
obviously,
love
for
that advice.
teenagers,
Yeah.
well, for teenagers,
Mhm,
they listen to all these things sometimes, or they get it sometimes, but they don't want to listen to it. They don't want to take a step to it because they're teenagers, right? And so, what would you say to young teenagers, or you have kids yourself, or your kids in the
mhm,
future? What do you want them to know? Like you have been teaching them right now in everyday life, right? So, but what about
mhm.
younger people out there who are still seeking and still searching? And I see lots of stories of these young students. Um,
I would ask them. They know more than most of the adults. The younger people have better ideas, and even if at first they might be just joking around or whatever, but ask them how the system needs to change. Ask them how the more creative people and the people that are able to see past the veil and the and all of the stuff that doesn't fulfill. I was the same way. The things that normal people fulfilled people could not fulfill me. I tried. Oh my gosh, did I try? It just didn't work. I tried the 9 to 5. I tried, to just have the general material stuff and all that other stuff, how it didn't work. I tried the traditional stuff. I tried to people please from a very early age. I had a teacher, this is going to give you an example.
Mhm,
But there was a couple times I had teachers that really listened to what it was, and unfortunately, a lot of the times, especially in Western, I don't know where you're at, my dear, but in Western culture, a lot of times they don't provide the container for people to have the creative input that is needed. Remember, I told you we're just regurgitating stuff
mhm,
versus giving life and birth to new creative ideas and things. Well, these kids have the new ideas, they have the new creative things. And a lot of the older people are still, wrestling, not all, but wrestling with the carbon copy of everything. And so these kids are like the breath of new life. I remember I had a teacher and I would just not sit still in class. I had too much energy. I, was vital then. And I had all these ideas. I loved people. And I knew what they were teaching me was not going to help me out. There's no other way that people could convince me.
mhm,
I had this wisdom and I wanted to create, and I wanted all these kids that I saw that were drooling on themselves and trying to, get in trouble for not focusing and doing all these things. I knew that there had to be a different way. And the teacher and I would keep on trying and trying. And then one day she said, "Okay, Andrea, instead of taking the test, what I want you to do is I want you to put in your mind the things that you did learn, and I want you to make a play with everybody in the class, and I want you to assign them each roles of what each person did, and and what, and all these other things." So what I did is I did, and at the quarter of each semester or whatever is going through, she would have me put on a play, and I would get all the kids up there just on the whim. I would start directing them and telling their lines, and then I would say, "Well, what do you remember about that?" And then, "What do you remember?" And I would have other people remember what they had learned or something that they wanted to add, and it ended up being really funny. Another thing is that I've always had very hot and really healing hands. My kids are the same way too. And the teacher, to get out my energy, which we probably get in trouble for now, Dominic, and she would come and she'd say, "Andrea, give me a back massage," instead of why everybody's taking a test. Like, come over. And so I would come over there and I would start rubbing her neck and everything. She goes, "Oh my gosh, my shoulders, my neck, they are, you did such a good job." And it made me feel good, whether or not that was true or not, I don't know. But, it made me feel good. And she was able to disperse my energy because I was more physical. I needed physical things to do. So it was really great that I had. So that's a really, I hope that answers your question in an actual um, example. But we have to ask our kids instead of us regurgitating everything that's on the blackboard. And yes, it's important to do, basic math and reading and all this other stuff, but history and all this other stuff, let's create something new. Ask the kids what they're learning, what they're doing, what love is all about. This kid that you're talking about that says, "So what is your real life? What is real? What do you see?" He's probably so into, there are so many kids that are coming in right now, and you probably hear about this and you see it probably. You're a teacher, right?
mhm,
Right, Dominic? You teach kids? That's what I'm assuming, that's what I'm feeling. So it's, and sometimes you just see these kids that come in and they're just stable and they see things really, really clearly, and they just know what they know. And then there's other kids that want to people please or they want to do this other stuff, but they might be emotionally stable, they might not, but they have the answers. They have the
mhm,
answers, and what happens is they will help with creating new, not just timelines, but curriculum for that semester or whatever, or for that particular group. So I don't know about you, but I know when I get certain groups of people, like I used to do one-on-ones for like about 15 years, and now I love groups. And I'm so intuitive that I can master and feel what that group is needing and wanting. And then we start flowing together because there's a certain synergy. So how do you put a certain curriculum and a certain way to teach and a certain way to do everything for the kids right in front of them every single time and expect those kids to learn and benefit from every single one, when those kids can have the ideas, they can probably come up with things that it might not look like anything what the, the classroom looks like, but they
mhm,
have their own synergy. And if they're allowed their creative expression or they're allowed their voice, it's amazing what can happen in each one of those classrooms and those groups. But there's some schools that are doing stuff like that, but they're far and few between, and I love that you mentioned it. And the more that teachers like yourself get on board or think about these things and want more changes, and then actually ask themselves how can they be the catalyst in bringing, even if it's just a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time, these teachers will get the answers with communicating with the kids.
I'm pretty
It'll
sure a
happen.
lot of teachers out there know that this is the way to do things, or there's better way to do things. But being a catalyst can be a problem sometimes. They don't want to get fired. They don't want to. They want to keep the jobs. They need the money to take care of their family. So sometimes they're afraid to make a
Mhm.
change. Like for
So
example,
you Mhm,
right. For me, when I
mhm,
teach my students in school, like we have all these set classes or set things, subjects that they need to learn. And I told the kids many times, like we learn this not because we have to sometimes. We learn it because it's a way of life. If we learn it, it might help you in the future. It might help you, it might not, but still, it has been provided for you. So we should find the best we can to learn from it. And I told them many times, if there's something else they want to learn, something else they want to do, if it's possible in my on my part, it's possible for me to do it, then we will do it, and we'll try to
mhm,
achieve it. And at the same time, while learning all of these things, we also need to learn how to have a good moral conduct with other people. That means showing respect, and at the same time, when you show respect, people will give you respects. So things like that that I want my students to learn, not just subjects in school. So I do have some kids, like you mentioned, like it's full of
mhm,
energy, full of creativity, but
mhm,
sometimes she could not control her mouth, which means some of the things that she says might not be nice to a lot of people to like to hear. And this kind of
mhm.
things can does not make your life a little bit better, it just makes it a little bit worse. So I oftentimes tell her, or tell all my students, we just have to be very careful with what we say. Sometimes we can be creative in everything, be enjoy, be free, but sometimes we gotta be very careful with what we say, or else.
Intuitive things and the emotional. So we've talked about all of this even on
Right.
your
So
show right
the
now.
things might
The
be wrong for them. So yeah. So that's what I'm
Mhm,
trying to say as an educator as well.
mhm.
But
It's a
here's the thing,
must,
right? It's a must,
Dominic,
of
it's a
course.
must. Yeah, go ahead. It's a must to come forward with it. There's no more time. There's no more time to waste. The kids are gonna start out it instead of repeating patterns that don't work anymore, which at some time they're gonna poofed out. They just will, and it's either that brick on the head or slowly and surely people start coming forward. But it's a must that kids learn how to do emotional mastery. It's a
Mm,
must to learn about your intuition in your inner world and to be able to share that with the world so that you can have your own inner voice and you can and be seen and also be respected. You shouldn't be respected for stuff that you're regurgitating and how good you are at regurgitating this all the stuff that's already in the world. I might be in trouble for saying this, but and I'm not saying that it might not even be very much different than what somebody comes to the world to do it. It might be an enhancement of something that is already here, which it usually is. But
mm,
it's a must. It's like teachers like yourself. It's speaking up, starting to come up with different curriculums, being able to do things on the side or incorporate in the classroom no matter what, and coming up with creative ways. Because when I told you that when we're connected to who we are more influential than a million people that are not, and we are not powerless. We are not powerless. When you start developing this inner thing, you automatically start inspiring other people. It shows up. It can't happen any different. Things start to come to you. Start collaborating with the right people. You meet that right person at the right time. You meet the president of the education, or this person or this thing, and things start coming together and collaborate because you're making clear sense. And when people are coming at you from different directions and how you need to do this or whatever, you have the ability to articulate in a way that makes sense to people. We all have a truth barometer. We all want to help the community. Well, not everyone, but most. We all want to make changes for the better. So when somebody steps forward and has clarity about this, so unconditional love, and love is very important. But the next thing that I talk about is clarity and asking for the truth. When you ask for the truth, you can't hide the truth anymore under what already exists. And you start creating a whole movement around you. And you can't take my word for it. This is why I'm coming forward with Vitality Unleashed. It's time for
Mm.
me not to do one-on-one sessions. It's time for me to be out in the world. And I am the adult that is out with all the kids. Like everybody, I go to a big party, and if the adults are great for a little while, but then they start asking me all these questions, and then I sometimes start working, and I'm like, I got to go hang out with the kids. And I end up playing, and I'm that adult that's playing with all the kids, and we're
Hello,
laughing, and
there's
we're all getting
Aundrea
along
again. She
together.
went with the kids
Oh yeah.
again.
Yeah. So there is a way. I don't want people to feel defeated at all. So when you start developing an underworld, you ask these three things from yourself every single day that you go in. You know how when you're falling asleep and you start thinking about things and you have some clarity, it's a good time to write things down. It might be a good time to write things down on a piece of paper and ask, what would it take for me to be completely clear? What would it take for me to be completely and see the truth? And I do a meditation, a very powerful few meditations that shake people up, that shake their whole inner system up. I don't know how, it just happens. It's the vibration, it's the frequency, it's whatever that comes through, and asking for the truth. What is my truth? How can I bring this truth forward? And how can it match? And how can the earth and how can my world right now support me as the truth is coming out? And how can I love more
Mm,
myself and others? Like we all want to do that. But why? So why are we not? Because people are not developing their own inner world, and they're spending, and I'm not saying 50% of the time, Dominic. I'm not even saying, like, even 20%. In my experience and what my intuition tells me, and from my experience working with people, when you're first starting out, 7% of your time 7% of your time goes in developing, to listening to your emotional nature and what you need, putting yourself maybe in uncomfortable situations, or you're, instead of like the family, like when you were talking about your friend with the family, instead of being
mm,
reactive or like a victim consciousness, to say, step back and say, okay, this is cool. So how can I provide myself this love, and to come up with completely new solutions? Remove himself for 5 minutes, write it down. It's amazing when we write things down and we ask these things to ourselves, because a lot of people don't, how incredibly brilliant we are interiorly, and how the answers come. But people don't ask because they're too busy looking for validation and all the things on the outside. Just shift that a little bit. Just shift it a little bit and watch how your world. And then when you start seeing that it works, you want to do it more and
mm.
more and more, because the more you do it, the more you can see that the other stuff that is all around you, that you're trying, that this insatiable like thirst of trying to fill yourself up with the outside stuff is never ever quenched. But you can, inside, you can feel satisfied, you can feel more creative, you can feel like you're moving and changing things in your, and it can be just little things, it doesn't have to be huge, but those little things all add up, one brick at a
Exactly, just
time.
like you said, little thing, just one step at a time. Like I like that a lot because that's what it is. I told my friend exactly the same thing. I told him that keep on posting all the good stuff you have on social media because those are great. Because when I look at it myself, it's like your stuff actually helps me to be more happy. I'm like, wow, you're doing these
Mhm,
fun things with your family. I want to be doing that as well. And
mhm,
so I told him, as once we put us those good things that we have, doesn't matter if it's you feel unreal sometimes, but if you put it up there, eventually when you feel sad, you go back to those things and you look at, oh, this is happiness, the short-term happiness
mhm,
we have. We journal it down, sort of, but in social media, we put it there, a picture of happiness, and it was like, okay, so that's happy. So one day when I'm feeling sad, I will go to this picture, I will see this picture, and I was like, wow, okay, so I was actually really happy then. So that's why I told my friend. And I told my
mhm,
students as well, like most of the times we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not a great teacher or anything. Like, I do what I can. Like you said, the 7%, it's just a little help, right? So
mhm,
if there's any time, anything at all that I can help with something, then I will try to do it. It doesn't mean it has to be
mhm,
big. I'm not forcing myself to do it. If I can't do
mhm.
it, then I shouldn't do it. But if I can, why not? And as I do
Well,
this thing,
it should
sorry.
be inspired. It should be inspired, though, not because you have to. So being able to develop this inner world is also when you get an idea and you're unstoppable. You are not with just a little idea. You know how you just get a beat on something and then you're just like, I just know this is going to work. I don't care. Just one little thing. And that you become so inspired that you take action. So the whole paradigm of motivation and having to do stuff because that you should be a good human being and you should show up and blah 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 is dying. It's dying, it's dead. It doesn't work for people. It doesn't create a
Mm,
lot of abundance. It doesn't. That's why they say the 1% in the world are the people that control most of the money and the power and all that other stuff. That's because motivation and all these other motivational speakers, it does not work. Motivation, it has to come from in spirit, inspiration, so that when you get an idea, it feels so clear to you and so real to you, it's unstoppable. You can't help but just go all the way. And that little idea can leave a trail that impacts so many other people's lives because it's genuine, it's authentic, it's
mm,
real. This, and then it pops off in other parts of our lives, and then it becomes more and more and more until that we are living our life genuinely. And it was so funny you were talking about like social media. I'm one of those people that shows nice things on social media, but I really get under people's skin a lot of the time too, because I just as much as I look at the light, I look at the dark. I look and give people real solutions on how to be able to confront their darkness, their demons, their shadow work, whatever that you want to call it, the stuff that they do not want anybody else to know. It's right there.
mm,
And I let people know this is how, yes, we are human, because that's sometimes that relatability with people that are in the dark and that are in those lower points. That's the only thing that's going to be able to elevate them and be able to something that they'll be able to see, and then be able to get a little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit. Because when we're feeling really low or depressed or sad, and we're not allowed to get angry because people don't want us to get angry, we go right back down to depression and all that other stuff. Sometimes you need to be able to express yourself. You need to be able to get angry or frustrated for a minute and have somebody just hold space without telling you that you are doing something wrong or that take it personal or whatever. When you develop your interior and your emotional awareness and your elevated and your mastery with emotions, guess what? You can allow this space. You allow this container for people to elevate so that they can feel the full range of emotions until they're, feeling more hopeful, that they start feeling that they get ideas, that we see each other as human.
mm.
It's so, so important. It's so, social media can be so lonely. All of that stuff, it can be so lonely, because I just wrote something the other day about that. Like, texting back and forth is like unmemorable. Like, how long do you remember a text for that is really, really good versus like in live action? It's devoid of reality. It lacks personality and substance. Live interaction, or even what we're doing here on video, you can sense who I am. I can sense who you are. I can see your attributes. I can feel it. When you develop your intuition, you start knowing. But live interaction is so much better. It's like going into nature. You see a picture of nature and you're trying to figure out how to feel the waterfall and the smell and all that. It's like impossible, right? You have to be there in nature to really feel everything. And
For
so
sure,
this
yeah.
whole yeah, and so this whole interaction, and what people going into this loneliness, but they're not spending time with themselves. They're looking at Facebook or Instagram or all these things to fulfill or to connect, when you could take 10% of that time that you're on Facebook and write, and just bring the awareness in. Breathe. Take a
Mm,
couple deep breaths. See where you feel in your stomach and your heart and your body. Our physical presence to be able to do that, life changing. Just those little things. So I hope that even with these little things, it's stuff that we already innately know, but sometimes somebody just has to say it in order to say, man, that's absolutely right. I'm going to do that like right now. Or, oh, that's exactly right. I just went through this, and this in my development, and I'm so excited about this next stage. And yes, we're human.
no, I totally agree with you with everything right there. We totally need to be inspired to do something, but at the same time, I feel like even without being inspiration with a lot of things, we still need to
Mhm.
try sometimes. There is an effort in some things. There's effort that's put a lot of things into perspective. Because not all the time you'll be inspired with a lot of things. I have a student who, like, I teach art as well. I teach all kinds of
Mhm.
stuff, but I teach art in with my students. In
Nice.
my art class, some students come to me telling me that I don't know what to draw. I'm not inspired to draw, and I don't have any inspiration. I said that's fine. I was like, here's an iPad. Look at it. Look at a bunch of stuff. The topic is this one, so you can type out a topic and see what catches you. But at the same time, like I keep hearing, I can't find anything at all. It's like, okay, that's fine. Well, let's see what you have. So we saw some pictures that he or she is looking at. I was like, okay, so this is a good picture right here. You can take something out of this and try to paint it or do something from this. And I was like, but I don't know. It's like I'm not inspired. It's like, it doesn't matter. I mean, just do it. And so as he does it or as she do it, and then eventually I get great photos. I was like, okay, wow, this is nice. This is great. I mean, do you see it? He or she was like eventually like, yeah. Slowly they see it. So eventually they got
Mhm.
inspired by that. So
Mhm.
what I
Yeah, I love
meant
it.
also was
Mhm.
we don't have to be inspired most of the time. That's from
Well,
my
you
side.
can connect to people to be inspired too, but it's
For sure,
it's
yeah.
from that place. Yeah, so it's
So
important.
every time we do things, like I told my
Mm,
friends, well, if we do things, it might affect us in some ways. Like, if I help someone, it would definitely affect me in some ways. It might help
mhm,
me or it might not, but it doesn't matter. But I'm putting it out there. And if it does help me, that's a plus. If it doesn't help me, doesn't matter. It's still there. I'm still the same person. I feel like as soon as we do something, there is a change. I just came back today from a vacation. I went to the ocean side, and we had a oh, so it was a good time for relaxing and everything. So we had
yeah,
lots of things to reconnect, right? So
yeah,
this is what it is: is finding what we want, and if we can help someone, that'll be great. Just a little help.
yes. And
We
taking
all
time
need
for yourself and to slow down a little bit so that you can slow everything down and connect.
Yeah, exactly. It's because we all need just a little help. Well, I guess
Yes.
our time is running out. Thank you, Aundrea,
Yes.
for coming to the show. Thank you for everyone who's watching us today, and hope you enjoy the
Thank you,
show.
Dominic.
Please like and subscribe if you want more of this. And also, there's more exciting streams coming up for the next couple of days. More excellent topics to talk about, things we can help each other. Remember, we all need a little help, and someone next to us just need a little help as well. So do what we can. And thank you again, Andre, for coming to the show. Do you have any last sentence you want to say to everyone out there?
Comment oh, well, I'm so like I said, Dominic, thank you. It was great. And me and Dominic just met each other. So this was really great that we got to interact with each other. Thank you so much for just inviting me on your show. I had a really good time. And come over on to
Yeah,
vitalityunleashed.live. Check
got
out
it
the
right there.
modules
Right.
in 5 hours. You can literally, and I'm not just saying this, you can go within and change your perspective on life to allow new possibilities in your life. I'm so passionate about this. Join a free masterclass where you're going to be able to interact with me too. I can't wait to see you over there.
Thank you, Andre. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
everyone. So have a good night and have a good day.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.